So imagine I'm casually buying a soda, right? I glance down and suddenly, bam! I'm literally seeing winning percentages floating above the bottles. Naturally, I have to test this out. So I grab a bottle showing a 100% win rate, twist off the cap, and boom, free drink. Am I about to have the ultimate main character glow up? To double check, I grab a bottle showing a solid 0% chance. I open it, and it basically laughs in my face with a better luck next time. Loser. I am so hyped, I nearly do a backflip right in the middle of the store. But I gotta play it cool so the cashier doesn't think I've lost my mind. I execute the same trick over and over, chugging iced tea and racking up bottle caps like I'm playing Fallout. Minutes later, I walk out with a dozen capeless drinks, leaving the cashier staring at me like I just performed dark magic. I get back to the office feeling like a local hero, ready to hand out free drinks to my coworkers. But right in the middle of my generous distribution, a voice shrieks from the doorway, completely ruining the vibe. Yun-hee. Not only are you late for work, but now you're out here bribing your coworkers? If you don't want to work, get the hell out. Everyone scampers back to their desks like terrified mice, leaving me standing there totally solo. But instead of my usual spineless, bowing and scraping routine, I just hit her with a mysterious little smirk. My boss is utterly stunned. Before she can utter another toxic word, I raise my hand and straight up splash iced tea right into her face. Then, as the entire office gasps in absolute shock, I do a dramatic 180 and walk out like a boss. Look, now that I can see success rates, slaving away at a 9 to 5 is officially off the table. Never again. Once I'm outside, I start brainstorming how to turn this cheat code into real cash. The first thing that pops into my head? Jade gambling. As luck would have it, there's a local rock gambling yard nearby. Rumor has it, these stones are fresh from Myanmar, and the golden rule around here is simple. One slice makes you rich, one slice makes you broke. Well, with my superpower, there's only one possible outcome. One slice makes me filthy rich. I hail a cab and rush straight over to the rock yard. I duck into a quiet corner to check my bank account. And yeah, I'm sitting on a grand total of $1,200. Yikes. That's not even enough for a handful of rock dust in the premium section, let alone a decent stone. But hey, no panic. I stroll right past the fancy booths and head straight for the bargain bin, the scrap pile. These are literally leftover trash rocks, sold by the pound like cheap cabbage. Honestly, 99.9% of this stuff is pure, useless gravel. But for me, this place is a gold mine. I take a deep breath, lock in, and scan the pile. A floating row of percentages lights up in front of my eyes. Unfortunately, looking across hundreds of rocks, every single number is a big fat 0%. I shake my head. Yeah, this pile is certified trash. Still, I don't give up. I scan through them one by one. 10 minutes later, my eyes are burning, and I haven't spotted a single 100%. Just as I'm about to throw in the towel and try another booth, a dirty, ignored little stone tucked in the corner catches my eye. Floating right above it is a glorious 100% success rate. My heart starts pounding out of my chest, but I force myself to act totally uninterested. I casually pick it up and ask the vendor, "Yo, how much for this one?" The guy doesn't even bother looking up from chewing his sunflower seeds. Scrap pile's $200 a piece. Pick whatever. I don't waste a single second. I swipe my card, grab my rock, and march straight over to the cutting station. The veteran stonecutter takes one look at my pitiful rock and literally bursts out laughing. "First time playing, kid? This junk isn't even fit to be a brick. Slicing it is just a waste of electricity." Another old dude nearby chimes in, "For real, that crust has 0 signals. If that thing yields any jade at all, it'll literally eat the cutting machine." I keep my poker face on, completely unbothered by their trash talk. "Just cut it right down the middle, please." The cutter sighs, shakes his head, clamps the rock down, and flips the switch. The blade hits the stone with a deafening screech. A minute later, the machine stops. The cutter carelessly wipes the rock face with a rag, and instantly, his dull old eyes widen to the size of saucers. His hands start shaking like a leaf. "Holy crap! It's green! It's actually green! Bro, it hit! Look at that! It's sticky rice jade. It's a bit small, but it's easily big enough for a pendant." The old guy who swore he'd eat the cutter stands there frozen, staring wide-eyed. He immediately hustles over to me, sweating bullets. "Hey kid, how about I give you $3,000 for it right now?" Inside, I'm screaming with joy, but on the outside, I stay completely unbothered. Turning $200 into $3,000? That ROI is insane. But hey, I know not to get greedy. This is just my seed money. So, I agree to the deal, cash out, and walk away happy. With $3,000 burning a hole in my pocket, I stroll into the mid-tier section. The stones here look way more promising, showing off fancy textures and color bands. I activate my vision and scan the field. 0% chance. 0% chance. I wander around for half an hour before stopping at a prime booth. Sitting right in the center is a massive, watermelon-sized boulder, and hovering above it is the number of my dreams, 100% chance of jade. I lean in for a closer look, and a subtext pops up. Type, high ice jade. My heart skips a beat. High ice is top-tier stuff, second only to glass grade. If I slice this baby, it won't just be worth tens of thousands. We're talking hundreds of thousands. I take a deep breath and point to the rock. Boss, how much for this one? The vendor, a skinny middle-aged guy, gives me a quick up and down glance. Seeing my totally average clothes, he smirked. That's an old pit stone with killer features, kid. Firm price, $28,000. My heart instantly drops. My total net worth is barely $3,000. I can't even afford a fraction of that. Just as I'm trying to figure out how to pull some cash together, out of the corner of my eye, I spot a long, weirdly shaped stone sitting right next to the high ice boulder. It's literally being used to prop up the vendor's wobbly table. And floating right above it, 100% chance of jade. Type, icy sticky jade with floating flowers. A surge of pure joy shoots through me. Talk about a plot twist. I shake my head with a fake sigh. Nah, $28,000 is way too steep for me. Then, I casually kick the long rock under the table, pretending to trip over it. Whoa, boss, your table's super unstable. But hey, this ugly long rock looks just about right. I could take it home for my dog to chew on. What's the price? The vendor snorts. You're funny, kid. That's just a useless scrap rock I picked up to level the table. But if you really want it, give me $800 and take it. $800 for a busted table prop? Are you crazy? Will you take $300? If not, I'm walking. All right, fine. You're a tough negotiator. $300 and it's yours. I scan his QR code, pay the $300, scoop up my weird table prop rock, and head right back to the cutting station. So, instead of handing it over to the cutter, I ask to borrow a grinding wheel so I can handle this bad boy myself. My supervision tells me the jade is right under the surface, and using a huge cutter might totally ruin the merchandise. I start grinding away, and almost instantly, this gorgeous, translucent blue-green shine starts peeking through. The noisy, chaotic market goes dead silent for a full second before the crowd literally gasps in unison. Holy crap, that's icy sticky jade. And look at those blue floating flower patterns. The clarity is insane. Right at that exact moment, the vendor who sold me the rock for $300 walks by. The second he sees what's happening, he drops his hot water thermos right onto the floor. He's completely frozen in place, staring at the fact that the ugly rock propping up his wobbly table was actually a jackpot. Before I can even polish off the rest of the stone, a swarm of jewelry store buyers surrounds me, practically elbowing each other out of the way to place bids with crazy eyes. Inside, I'm just laughing my head off. My floating text tells me the rock is worth $60,000, but I know I need to play it low-key. I can't be out here making huge waves on day one. Besides, $50,000 is plenty of cash to build up my bankroll. So, I sell it to a chubby store owner who offers $50,000 on the spot. I look at my bank balance. $50,000 cold hard cash. I take a massive sigh of relief. It's been less than 2 hours since I threw iced tea in my boss's face and quit, and I've gone from dead broke to five-figure comfortable. Having superpowers feels absurdly good. However, I notice a few shifty-looking guys eyeing me from the crowd. Look, the rock gambling world is dark and full of shady stuff. If I keep pulling off 100% win rates every 10 minutes, I might not make it out of here in one piece. So, while everyone is still begging me to keep going, I wave goodbye and beat it. By the time I step out of the yard, it's already past 1 p.m. I figure it's time to get a nice lunch and treat myself. But as I turn the corner, I spot a massive mob huddled outside a convenience store. Turns out, the store just got a fresh shipment of scratch-off lottery tickets, and a bunch of people are aggressively scratching away, cursing up a storm when they hit nothing. I stop in my tracks and hit them with a little smirk. Sure, rock gambling makes big money, but it draws way too much attention. Scratch-offs, though? If you win, people just think you got absurdly lucky. It's the absolute best way to rack up quick cash without drawing unwanted eyes. I walk inside, and while the clerk is busy paying out tiny prizes, I scan the wall of scratchers with my cheat code vision. Win rate, 0%. Win rate, 0%. Win rate, 100%. Prize, $10. I scan through the entire rack, and over 90% of them are complete duds. The ones that actually win are just $10 or $20 break-even tickets. No wonder these people are sweating bullets and getting nowhere. Just as I'm about to give up, my eyes hit the bottom row. The $30 10x luck scratchers. Right above one single ticket, a glowing screen pops up. 100% win rate. Prize, $100,000. My heart does a massive leap. It's not the mega grand prize, but $100 K is a serious stack. I keep my cool and walk over. I don't buy just that ticket, though. If I buy one random ticket and instantly hit $100 K, The owner is going to think I'm running an insider scam. To stay undercover, I point to the stack and say, "Give me 5 of those 10x luck scratchers." That way, the jackpot ticket, along with the ones above and below it, are all mine without raising any red flags. I take my 5 scratchers to a side table, whip out a coin, and start scraping. The first one is a bust, just like I expected. I act frustrated, shaking my head like a sore loser, and move on to the second. Another dud. A guy standing next to me gives me a sympathetic pat on the shoulder. "Raw day, kid. It's all luck. If it ain't clicking, just walk away." I give him a polite smile, keep quiet, and pick up ticket number 3, the $100,000 ticket. I reveal the winning number first, 18. Then I slowly scratch off the numbers below. On the third row, 18 pops up. And right beneath it, a crisp, beautiful $100,000. Even though I knew it was coming, seeing all those zeros in real life makes me take a sharp breath. I force down a massive smile, walk over to the clerk, and play dumb, asking if this is a winning ticket. The clerk, who is scrolling on his phone, lazily grabs the ticket, takes one glance, and practically jumps out of his skin like he just got electrocuted. Everyone in the store turns around, looking at me with pure, unadulterated envy. I just scratch the back of my head like a clueless farm boy. Guess today's my lucky day! Since the payout is over 10 grand, the store can't cash it out directly. The owner enthusiastically fills out the paperwork so I can claim it at the state lottery office. I grab an Uber straight to the lottery center, pay the 20% tax, and boom. $80,000 lands straight into my bank account. Combined with my earlier profits, my bank balance is now sitting at over $130,000. Looking at those 6 figures, I'm practically floating. In half a day, I made more than most people save in 3 years. After grabbing a nice, pricey meal, I head back to my cheap apartment and take the best nap of my life. The next morning, as the sun shines through my window, I map out my next move. Rock gambling is too risky for my safety, and scratch-offs have a low ceiling. Hitting a multi-million-dollar jackpot on those is pure luck anyway. So, what's the absolute best place to print money right now? Antiques. As the saying goes, gold in times of chaos, antiques in times of peace. The antique market is even wilder than rock gambling because 99.9% of the stuff out there is total garbage, knockoff junk. But if you land one single real deal, you're not just making tens of thousands. You're looking at millions. For a guy like me who can instantly spot real from fake, this place is literally my personal playground. After breakfast, I jump in a cab and head straight to the city's biggest flea market and antique district. The place is a total zoo. Porcelain, calligraphy, bronze artifacts, jade, you name it. The street stalls stretch out endlessly. I throw my hands in my pockets and start strolling past the booths, letting my cheat vision scan everything. Authenticity rate, 0% modern souvenir. Authenticity rate, 0% artificially aged scrap. Authenticity rate, 0% cheap factory import. As I walk down the strip, it's an endless wall of bright red zeros. Once in a blue moon, I'll spot a 100% real tag, but when I look closer at the details, authenticity rate, 100% enamel mug from last week. Authenticity rate, 100% rusty padlock from 1982. I roll my eyes so hard it almost hurts. This market is like 99.9% fake garbage. I wander around for over an hour until my eyes get totally sore. But just as I'm about to call it quits and find a spot to grab a coffee, a dingy, quiet stall in the corner catches my eye. The vendor is a skinny old guy wearing a quirky little skull cap and resting on his blanket. The blanket is overflowing with dirt-covered, broken bowls and rusty copper coins that straight up look like they were dug out of someone's backyard grave 5 minutes ago. Naturally, I flick on my superpower vision, expecting a full row of zeros. But in the bottom corner of the blanket, a glowing text flies out. Authenticity rate, 100%. Rare Qing Dynasty Qianlong-era Zaitan wood jewelry box. My brain instantly freezes. Qianlong Zaitan wood? Even if the box is totally empty, an official imperial piece like this goes for hundreds of thousands at an auction. I force my heart to slow down, put on my best oblivious rookie face, and pick up a crusty, cracked ceramic bowl. "Hey uncle, how much for this bowl?" The skinny guy's sleepy eyes immediately flash with dollar signs. "Ah, young man, you've got a rare eye. This is a genuine Song Dynasty Ru kiln remnant. Sure, it's got a little crack, but the historical value is priceless. Since you look like an expert, I'll give you a deal. 50,000 bucks. Inside, I'm dying laughing. My floating cheat screen literally says, manufactured yesterday in a modern factory. Instead of exposing him, I act like I'm about to pass out from the sticker price. 50 grand. Whoa, way too rich for my blood. I just wanted a cool antique for my desk. If my mom finds out I dropped 50,000 on a cracked bowl, she'd kill me with her bare hands. Wait, young man. Don't leave, he scrambles. Business is all about give and take. Make me an offer. Look, I can't touch that bowl, I say, sighing dramatically. But hey, this dusty little wooden box looks pretty vintage. My stamp is rolling around my desk anyway. How about I give you $300 for the box? The old man gasps like I just insulted his family honor. Kid, this isn't just any box. This is a solid rosewood box from the Republic era. 300? No way. 3,000. Absolute minimum. Come on, old man. Do I look like an idiot? I counter, rolling my eyes. The wood feels light as a feather, and the paint is peeling off. $500. Take it or I'm walking. Fine. 500 it is. Consider it my good luck deal of the day. I scan his payment code for $500, grab the box, and internally go crazy. The second it hits my hand, the weight and dense texture confirm it. 100% legitimate Imperial treasure. I bite my lip to suppress a villainous grin and strut away. I march straight into Treasure Pavilion, the biggest, most absurdly luxurious antique shop in the entire market. These high-end places don't mess with cheap knockoffs. They handle million-dollar deals and employ elite appraisal masters. The moment I walk through the doors, a hostess wearing a gorgeous traditional dress greets me with a polished smile. Hello, sir. Are you looking to buy or sell today? Get me your top appraiser, I demand. She glances at the dirty, dusty wooden box in my hands, a quick flicker of confusion passing over her eyes, but her professional composure holds up. Moments later, a distinguished old gentleman wearing reading glasses and a traditional suit steps out. He casually glances at my box, but the millisecond his eyes hit the hand-carved floral patterns on the bottom, his posture snaps straight up like a board. Wait, is that cow hair grain on Zaitan wood? He stammers, his hands visibly shaking as he inspects it. The carving, the patina. This is without a doubt an official piece from the Qing Dynasty Imperial Workshop. Kid, where on earth did you get this? Rule number 1 of the antique world. Never ask about the source, I say smoothly. Just tell me if you're buying, and what's your offer? $30,000, the old man says after a long pause. Kid, even though it's a masterpiece, the outer layer is severely weathered from improper care. $30,000 is the absolute highest Treasure Pavilion can offer. Inside, I'm doing backflips. $500 turned into $30,000 in 15 minutes? The ROI is off the charts. But on the outside, I maintain a stone-cold poker face and throw my hands up in disgust. 30 grand! Old man, you're taking me for a fool. This is a Qianlong-era imperial piece. There's no way it's only worth 30 grand. If Treasure Pavilion isn't serious, it'll just head across the street to Wanbao Tower. I turn around to leave, and the old man panics. He knows damn well that after a quick restoration and polish, this box will easily resell for at least $50,000. Wait, hold on, he yells, sweating. $35,000. That is my absolute deadline ceiling. I stop instantly, spin around, and flash a bright smile. Pleasure doing business with you. Ping. My bank notification pops up. My net worth is now creeping right up to the $50,000 mark. In literally 24 hours, I went from a miserable corporate wage slave to a half-millionaire in local currency terms. Walking out of Treasure Pavilion, I take a breath of fresh air, feeling like I'm floating on cloud 9. But let's be real. $50 K in a massive metropolis like this won't even cover a down payment on a decent apartment. My goals are way bigger than this. Since the antique industry is basically a cheat code for money, why not keep printing cash? I head back deeper into the market, ignoring the shady street blankets and stepping into the actual boutique shops. The items here are way higher class. Authentic looking, hanging scrolls on the walls and jade pieces gleaming inside glass display cases. I walk through, scanning like crazy. Authenticity rate, 0%. Authenticity rate, 0%. Authenticity rate, 100% glazed porcelain shard glued together with super glue. Yup, still mostly junk. But as I enter a gallery specializing in traditional ink paintings, a landscape painting on the wall catches my eye. It depicts distant mountains and pine trees, bearing a signature that reads Tang Bohu, one of the most famous legendary painters in history. If this thing were real, it'd easily fetch over $10 million. I focus my cheat vision on it. Authenticity rate, 0% modern high-precision print. I scoff and roll my eyes. Guessed as much. They really have the nerve to hang a fake right in the center of the shop. Just as I'm about to look away, the floating text weirdly glitches and flashes in bright golden letters. Hidden layer detected. 100% success rate. Song Dynasty copy of Wang Shiji's Pingan Tai calligraphy. I freeze on the spot, my breath catching in my throat. A hidden layer? Tucked behind a cheap fake painting is a Song Dynasty tracing copy of Wang Shiji's legendary calligraphy. Even as a copy, a Song Dynasty manuscript is a literal priceless national treasure. If I can get my hands on this, we aren't talking 50 grand or 500 grand. We're talking millions. I force my hands to stop shaking, take a deep breath, and walk into the gallery. The owner, a plump, middle-aged guy with a massive belly, is lounging in a fancy armchair, sipping tea. I don't look directly at the painting. Instead, I browse around the shop, picking up random modern pieces before casually pointing to the landscape on the wall. "Hey boss, how much for that landscape over there?" The fat owner spots my finger, sits up like a lightning bolt, pats his chest, and starts hyping it up like an infomercial host. "Ah, young man, what incredible taste. That is the crown jewel of my entire shop. An authentic Tang Bohu original. Look at those brush strokes. Look at the artistic soul. Honestly, if I wasn't running into a serious cash flow problem this week, I'd never sell this baby. Firm price, $2 million. Not a single penny less." I almost burst out laughing right in his face. $2 million for a modern inkjet print? The audacity of this guy? I let out a cold smirk and immediately shatter his dreams. "Boss, let's cut the crap, all right? We're both smart people here. Sure, you artificially aged the paper, but look at those edges. They're clean cut by a modern factory machine. And that ink depth? Zero gradient variation. That is a straight up 3D printer spray job. You're trying to pass off cheap machine wallpaper as a Tang Bohu original? Young man, don't go exposing a guy like that." "Okay, fine. Since you clearly know your stuff, I won't lie to you. Sure, it's a replica, but the brushwork is actually pretty decent. It looks super classy hanging in your living room. Tell you what, since you're sincere, $8,000 and it's yours." "Nah, the painting itself is total junk," I say, shaking my head. "Though, the mounting scroll and the backing paper look like they've got some history. Maybe Republic-era stuff? I've actually been learning how to remount ancient scrolls lately and need some authentic aged paper to practice on. How about this? I'll give you $2,000, take the painting home, tear it apart, and recycle the paper. What do you say?" The fat vendor hesitates. I mean, he bought this knockoff for maybe $200, so flipping it for $2,000 is a ridiculous 10x profit. Still, paying $2,000 just to rip up a painting for scrap paper sounds downright insane to him. Before his brain can process the weirdness, I pull out my phone and show him the payment screen. "Look, boss, $2,000 for a modern piece of factory decor is an insane win for you. If you don't want the deal, I'll just check out another shop. It's not like fake paintings are hard to find around here." "Whoa, hold on. $2,000 it is. You're a straightforward guy, kid. Let's call it making a friend." Ping. As the speaker blares, "Payment of $2,000 received," the vendor happily unhooks the painting, rolls it up real neat, and hands it over. Holding the painting tube, my heart is hammering like a bass drum. I literally just nabbed a Song Dynasty masterwork for $2,000. I suppress the overwhelming urge to rip it open right then and there, thank the owner politely, and rush out of the market like a bandit. The second I get back to my rental apartment, I lock the door tight, draw the blinds, and carefully unroll the landscape painting onto my desk. Ancient painting layers were made by gluing ultra-thin sheets of rice paper together. To avoid damaging the hidden treasure inside, I had run down to the drugstore and picked up surgical blades and a fine mist spray bottle. I spray a delicate mist along the border, letting the moisture seep into the paper and soften the century-old glue. Then, using the surgical blade, I carefully slice open a tiny slit at the corner, grab the top layer with tweezers, and slowly, millimeter by millimeter, peel it back. It takes me 2 grueling, nerve-wracking hours. Finally, the hidden calligraphy piece is fully revealed. It's small, barely a foot square, but the brushmanship flows like water, striking straight through the paper with insane power. Even though the paper is yellowed with age and slightly frayed around the edges, the main body is in remarkable condition. And the best part? The margins and blank spaces are crammed with vibrant red collector stamps. There's the Song Dynasty Imperial Household Seal, the private seal of famous Ming collector Jiang Yuanbian, and even the personal stamp of Emperor Qianlong himself. These seals are the ultimate birth certificate, proving an unbroken chain of royal ownership. I collapse back into my chair, gasping for air, staring at the masterpiece like a maniac. Look, I'm no art major, but I've read the news. Years ago, a fragment of Wang Shiji's Pingan Tai, also a Song Dynasty copy, sold at an auction for well over $30 million. Even if mine takes a hit for condition, we are talking about a multi-million-dollar national treasure. In under 48 hours, I went from having $1,200 in my account to holding a multi-million-dollar masterpiece. Just as I'm fantasizing about how to safely cash out this life-changing treasure, my phone buzzes violently on the table. It's an unknown number. I frown, hit accept, and put it to my ear. A low, raspy male voice speaks through the speaker. Am I speaking to the guy who sold the Zeiton box at Treasure Pavilion today? My eyes narrow. Who is this? How did you get my number? Relax, bro. There are no secrets in the antique world. The voice chuckles darkly. Buying a $350,000 Imperial box for $500 off a street blanket proves you've got serious eyes. I'm running a big game tomorrow night. A few heavy-duty artifacts just came out of the dirt at Yunshui Villa on the outskirts of town, and I need an expert to inspect them. If you can help me spot the real deal, your commission starts at a cool $1 million. He pauses, then adds chillingly, whether you come or not, don't leave town tonight. Click. The line goes dead. I stare at the phone with a cold smirk. Wow, I definitely underestimated how deep and dark the antique underground really is. I pull off one flip, and suddenly shady syndicates are tracking my every step. They even know about the $500 purchase at the street stall. This big game is obviously a high-stakes, highly dangerous underground black market trade. In the past, a call like that would have had me packing my bags and catching the first train out of state. But now I have cheat vision that sees through every lie and every trap. Dangerous? Please! If these guys are begging to throw millions of dollars at my feet, who am I to say no? Time to go see how deep this rabbit hole really goes. The next morning, I wasn't about to rush out and sell that ultra-rare, priceless ancient calligraphy scroll right away. Look, with a national treasure of that level, if you just hit up some random buyer on Craigslist or shady black market Facebook group, two things are going to happen. They're going to lowball you into oblivion, or worse, you're going to end up sleeping with the fishes. At this point, I'm just a guy with a tiny bit of cash in his pocket. If I run into some criminal kingpin who owns both the cops and the cartel, I am total fresh meat with zero cheat codes. So, I hailed a cab straight to the biggest bank in the city, dropped $300 to rent their highest security safety deposit box, locked that legendary scroll in tight, and finally, woo, my heart went right back into my chest. When night fell over the city skyline, I checked the address from a mystery text and took an Uber out to a private estate nestled deep in the northern suburbs. On paper, this place was an exclusive, off-the-books social club. In reality, it was straight out of a horror movie, slap dab in the middle of nowhere, zero streetlights, pure pitch black. The moment the Uber driver dropped me off, he slammed on the gas and skedaddled like he'd just seen a ghost, terrified he'd get sucked into some mafia hit. I just scratched my head, sighed, and started walking down a creepy, pitch black alleyway. Before I even reached the front entrance, two jacked dudes in slick suits stepped out from the shadows like literal brick walls. "Hold up, kid. What's your business? The estate is closed tonight. Your boss invited me. Tell the big chief I'm here." One of the hulking guards scanned me up and down like I was a lost middle schooler, until a crackle came through his earpiece with the order to let me through. He stepped aside, telling me 7th Master was waiting for me up on the 2nd floor. I walked inside, and man, the interior was dripping in crazy, eye-popping luxury. A total night and day flex compared to the creepy wilderness outside. A gorgeous lady in a traditional dress greeted me at the foyer and guided me down the hall to a set of massive, heavy double doors. As she pushed them open, the heavy tension in the room hit me like a ton of bricks. Inside the sprawling VIP room was a massive conference table. Sitting right in the center power seat was a middle-aged guy in his mid-40s radiating villain energy. No points for guessing, that's 7th Master. To his left sat 3 older gentlemen, all hovering around 60-something. Judging by their fancy dapper attire and smug snobbish vibes, they were supposed to be top-tier, hotshot antique appraisers. My dramatic entrance instantly drew every pair of eyes in the room. One of the old appraisers, wearing gold-rimmed glasses, gave a loud, condescending scoff. "7th Master, you've got to be kidding us. Today's deal is huge. It's fine that you dragged us 3 old veterans out here, but why on earth did you bring in a kid who hasn't even finished growing his mustache?" "Easy there, old Lee. Don't judge a book by its cover," 7th Master drawled calmly. "This young man right here dropped $80 at a flea market yesterday and snagged a genuine Qianlong-era rosewood jewelry box. His eyes are just as sharp as yours." Hearing that, the 3 old heads dialed back their smug expressions a tiny bit, though their faces still screamed pure hostility. I didn't give a single damn about their bad vibes. I pulled out a leather chair, plopped myself down like I owned the place, and got straight to business. "Look, 7th Master, let's skip the boring small talk. I know the drill. Where's the loot?" 7th Master burst into a hearty laugh and clapped his hands. Boom! The doors swung open, and a crew of hulking bodyguards carefully carried in 3 heavy wooden crates. The second those lids flipped open, a nasty wave of rank dirt mixed with harsh, chemical stink slapped everyone right in the face. "My guys just dug these 3 bad boys up out of a tomb over in Loyang," 7th Master said, pointing at the crates. "Supposedly ancient Shang Dynasty bronzes and burial relics from the Tang Dynasty. A mega-wealthy buyer is coming to check them out tonight, throwing around a cool $3 million. But I like my deals backed by cold, hard facts. Whichever one of you 4 can tell me the exact truth behind these pieces gets the cash sitting on this table." Right on cue, a henchman slammed a sleek black leather briefcase onto the glass table and popped the latches. It was stacked to the brim with fresh, crisp $100 bills. At the sight of all those juicy green stacks, the 3 old appraisers' eyes lit up like sharks smelling blood in the water. They instantly whipped out their white cotton gloves and magnifying glasses, practically diving headfirst over the crates. I didn't even flinch. I just leaned back, casually chilled in my chair, and activated my secret superpower, the success rate HUD. Instantly, glowing augmented reality stat lines floated above the 3 artifacts in crystal clear detail. Item number 1. A Tang Dynasty tricolor glazed ceramic camel, covered in dirt and looking super ancient. Floating right above it in midair. Authenticity rate, 0%. Fresh out of the factory kiln last month. Aged with fake mud. Item number 2. A Song Dynasty Junware porcelain bowl. Authenticity rate, 0%. Modern factory porcelain, artificially aged with chemical acid. Item number 3. The most ridiculous one. A massive bronze ritual vessel weighing like 50 pounds, covered in crusty red and green rust that looked totally legit. Authenticity rate, 0%. Modern foundry cast, rust artificially grown with chemical spray. Looking at these 3 treasures, I almost burst out laughing. Ancient royal relics? Bro, this was a straight-up batch of cheap, low-tier knockoffs. The fake aging techniques were so sloppy that anyone with 5 minutes of real field experience could spot them a mile away. But here's the wild part. Those 3 world-class expert appraisers hovered over the crates with their flashlights and magnifiers for 20 straight minutes, whispering frantically to each other like conspirators. Finally, Gold Glass's Lee turned around, looking all hyped up, and faced 7th Master. 7th Master, huge congratulations. The 3 of us have inspected these thoroughly. They are 100% authentic, certified Holy Grail pieces, especially this bronze vessel right here. Look at the massive size and the crisp inscriptions. This is a legendary Shang Dynasty artifact. Forget 3 million. If we put this in an elite auction, we're easily hitting 5 million minimum. Oh, absolutely, Master. Another old guy chimed in. The glaze on this Tang ceramic is divine. You just struck absolute gold. Ha ha ha, brilliant. 7th Master grinned, then slowly turned his gaze toward me. Young man, you haven't even touched a single piece. Are you too proud to look? Or do you just have no clue what you're looking at? I picked up the teacup in front of me, took a casual sip, and flashed a ruthless, mocking smirk. Why? Because 2 seconds ago, I used my success rate HUD to check the 3 old men's background stats. Floating right over their heads was a giant red warning. Probability of them running a coordinated scam, 100%. Turns out these 3 old frauds were in cahoots with the Tomb Raiders all along. They wanted to play 7th Master, knowing he didn't know jack about antiques, and use these cheap knockoffs to rob him blind of 3 million bucks. And 7th Master only invited me because he was already suspicious of these geezers and wanted a total random outsider as a wild card. Now that I saw right through the entire circus, this was child's play. I set my teacup down, stood up, and looked right at the big boss. 7th Master? That stash of cash on the table? It's mine. What? Gold Glasses Lee exploded, pointing an angry finger at me. You arrogant little brat. We just verified these national treasures with our decades of expertise. Who do you think you are to talk trash? I completely ignored their salty screaming, walked straight over to the massive bronze vessel, and turned to 7th Master. 7th Master, if this thing were real, it'd be worth millions. But if I smash it into pieces right now, you won't get mad, right? If you can prove it's fake, you can smash it to smithereens, 7th Master said, his voice dropping to absolute 0. But if you can't prove it, neither you nor these 3 old frauds are walking out of this estate alive tonight. The moment the words left his mouth, a dozen jacked bodyguards in the room instantly whipped out extendable tactical batons with a sharp clack. The 3 old appraisers turned pale as paper, trembling in their boots. 7th Master, what is the meaning of this? You'd actually trust a random wet-behind-the-ears kid over us? I was way too bored to listen to their desperate whining. I snatched a steel tactical baton right out of a startled bodyguard's hand, took a step back, and swung that heavy tactical baton with everything I had. Clang! And landed a massive hit right on that indestructible, thousands of years old bronze vessel. A giant chunk literally sheared right off, exposing the ugly, shiny, brand new modern brass hiding underneath. The whole room went dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. An ancient Shang Dynasty relic? Huh? Old Lee? I sneered, pointing at the shiny fresh cut. Care to explain why this priceless antique is packed with modern alloy? Back in the day, blacksmiths used charcoal, leaving tons of tiny air bubbles inside. This trash was melted in a modern electric furnace. It doesn't even have a single imperfection. Old Lee looked at that glittering brass edge. His knees buckled, and he dropped straight to the floor, shaking like a leaf. But I wasn't done yet. I turned around, picked up the ancient ceramic camel, and smashed it onto the hard floor. Bang! Shattering it into 50 pieces. I picked up the largest chunk of the base, flipped it over, and held it right in front of 7th Master's face. Molded clearly into the bottom was a tiny line of English text, "Made in China." One of the bodyguards couldn't even hold it in. He burst out laughing right on the spot, while 7th Master's face turned darker than a burnt piece of toast. "You 3 miserable old geezers," 7th Master roared, his blood pressure hitting the roof. "You actually tried to team up with outsiders to play me? Drag them out, break their legs, and throw them in the river to feed the fishes." A dozen muscle-bound goons swarmed in. dragging the three screaming frauds out of the room like sack of potatoes dead weight. Once the room calmed down, Seventh Master took a deep breath, looking at me with a mix of pure awe and genuine intimidation. Kid, you've got serious guts and insane eyes. I've been running the streets for decades, and I almost got completely wiped out by those three old fakes. That briefcase with the $1 million is all yours. I casually grabbed the briefcase, didn't even bother counting the bills, and turned to leave. Take the money and run. That's rule number 1 for staying alive in the underworld. Hold on a second, young man. Seventh Master called out from behind me just as I reached the door. You just saved me $3 million, so I can't let you leave empty-handed. I've got this little item I bought years ago that I could never figure out. If you can appraise it for me, it'll throw in another 500 grand. I stopped and turned back. Seventh Master pulled a palm-sized brocade box from his coat and placed a square, pale yellow translucent stone on the table. It was raw, uncarved, and looked like a simple blank seal. I was about to pass on it, but my secret HUD suddenly glitched out with crazy stats. Authenticity rate, 100%. Ultra-rare Qing Dynasty Tianhuang stone. Hidden info. Underneath the dried mud on the bottom lies a master carving by legendary artist Qi Baishi. My heart practically leaped out of my chest. There's an old saying in the antique world, an ounce of Tianhuang is worth 10 ounces of gold. This thing was worth way more than pure gold, and finding an authentic carving by a famous grandmaster meant it was easily worth over $1 million once cleaned up. I forced down the urge to scream in excitement, walked back over, picked up the stone, and sighed with a disappointed look on my face. Honestly, Seventh Master, it is a Tianhuang stone, but it's not the top shelf stuff. It's a common variation, dark in color with noticeable impurities inside. Plus, this nasty old mud on the bottom has seeped deep into the stone. It's maybe worth around 30 or 40 grand at best. Man, I got ripped off for 100 grand back then, Seventh Master grumbled, shaking his head. Tell you what, Seventh Master, since you were generous enough to give me $1 million today, I feel a bit bad leaving like this. My granddad loves collecting yellow seal stones. How about I give you 50,000 for it right now as a sign of respect? Seventh Master looked at the worthless stone, thinking I was just a clueless kid trying to kiss his ass using my own money. You're a respectful kid. Sure, take it. I immediately pulled 50,000 in cash out of my briefcase, slid it across the table, and tucked that $1 million gem safely into my pocket. I didn't stick around to chat. I grabbed my briefcase, rushed out of the estate, and didn't let out a breath of relief until I was in the back of a cab heading to the city, soaked in cold sweat. Walking on the razor's edge was terrifying, but man, the payoff was insane. Back at my apartment, I grabbed a bowl of warm water and a soft toothbrush, carefully scrubbing the mud off the bottom of the stone. As the dirt washed away, 4 ancient Chinese characters emerged, Baishi Shanweng, the authentic mark of Qi Baishi. I burst into laughter. We are officially hitting the jackpot. The next day, I didn't bother with low-level antique markets. I went straight to the top auction house in the city. 3 master appraisers verified it as a 100% genuine masterpiece. Wanting quick, safe cash instead of waiting around for auction drama, I signed a buyout agreement. After taxes and fees, a whopping $600,000 was wired straight to my bank account. Combined with my remaining cash, my net worth rocketed to nearly $700,000. I went from having $1,200 to almost $1 million in a matter of days, nearly a 4,000x return. But I didn't let it go to my head. Making big money antique moves was starting to attract mafia attention, and if I kept hustling the same market, someone would put a hit out on me. I needed a bigger pond with bigger money that was totally legal. Jade gambling. I wasn't looking for cheap local rocks anymore. I set my sights on the annual Pingzhou Jade Auction in Guangdong, the biggest raw jadeite trading hub in the whole country, loaded with top-tier raw stones imported straight from Myanmar. With my cheat code eyes, I was about to become the ultimate harvesting machine. I dropped 8 grand to secure a VIP invitation through auction connections, booked a first-class flight, and landed in Guangdong by evening. The moment I stepped out of the airport, the crazy jade fever hit me. Every street was lined with jewelry shops and stone-cutting factories, and even the air smelled like raw stone dust. The next morning, I flashed my VIP pass at the security gate and walked straight into the Pingzhou Jade Auction. The second I stepped inside, my jaw hit the absolute floor. The place was a giant open-air plaza, literally the size of 2 whole football fields, packed shoulder to shoulder with thousands of raw jadeite boulders. Some were small as a fist, while others were as big as a monster truck, all with individual ID numbers and base starting prices slapped on them in bright red spray paint. High-rolling big shots and crazy-rich collectors were everywhere, huddled over rocks with high-powered flashlights like crazed scientists. Every few minutes, an industrial diamond saw would roar in the background, followed by either insane cheers or devastating, soul-crushing groans. This was the ultimate high-stakes playground. One lucky cut makes you a multi-millionaire. One bad cut leaves you completely bankrupt. To me, though, This place was just a giant automated teller machine waiting to be drained. I took a deep breath, flipped the switch on my secret eye, and boom. The entire convention center transformed into a glowing sea of floating stats. Jade probability, 0%. Jade probability, 0%. Jade probability, 100%. Most of the rocks were total garbage, naturally. But I had to play my cards smart. The auction was split into two zones. Open bidding, where rich snobs aggressively yell out crazy numbers on live stages, and sealed bidding, where you drop a secret price tag into a locked box. With just around 500 grand in my bank account, trying to outbid billionaires on prime-looking stones was a suicide mission. My only winning play was to hunt down the ugliest, dirtiest, most neglected bottom-shelf rocks hiding insane top-tier jade inside, and snatch them up through secret sealed bids. I spent 3 straight hours grinding through the sealed bid section, checking well over 1,000 rocks. Sure, I spotted a few 100% hit rate stones, but they were low-tier commercial jade at best. Cutting them would only net me a tiny profit, which definitely wasn't going to cut it for my grand vision. Just as my feet were completely killing me, and I was heading toward the lounge for a drink, a neglected, pitch-black rock tossed in the literal trash corner caught my eye. It was about the size of a watermelon, coated in nasty, rough black crust. Even worse, it had a massive, brutal crack running straight through the center, plus hideous black mineral scabs splattered all over the skin. In the jade gambling world, black scabs are a complete death sentence because they eat up and destroy all the green color inside. And that giant canyon-sized crack meant you couldn't even pull a decent solid bracelet out of it. That's why the starting price was tagged at a pathetic $1,500, yet not a single person gave it a second look. I casually glanced over, and my eyes nearly popped right out of my skull. Floating right over this ugly trash rock were glowing, neon-bright stats. Jade probability, 100%. Quality, pure imperial green, flawless glass-type jadeite. The absolute holy grail. Even a tiny ringstone made from this stuff could easily sell for millions. Aside from a tiny 3-centimeter surface crack, the entire core of this watermelon-sized rock was packed with pure, flawless, insanely valuable emerald green jade. The value of this thing wasn't measured in thousands or millions. It was a straight-up multi-million-dollar jackpot. The stone's tag was number 8,864, and because it looked so utterly worthless, its drop box was completely empty. Not a single bid slip inside. I pretended to be exhausted, walked over, and intentionally kicked the rock with my shoe while complaining out loud to the nearby vendors. Man, is this auction house broke or what? Throwing out trash bricks cracked like a dog to scam people? Haha, little bro, the mine owner just threw that piece in as a free scrap item. A dealer snickered. If you've got cash to burn, drop a bid. Who knows, maybe you'll cut out a shiny piece of charcoal. I laughed along with him, nodded, and casually strolled away. But deep down, I was dead set. This piece was mine. With only 10 minutes left before the boxes were locked, I grabbed a bidding slip, filled in number 8,864, and stared at the offer line. I originally wanted to put down 3 grand, but just in case some random clueless gambler tried to throw a blind dart at it, I filled in a ridiculously specific, non-negotiable number that hurt my soul but guaranteed a win. $128,888. I sprinted over to the box and slid the slip inside right before the guards officially sealed it up. At 2 p.m., the gigantic LED screens flashed to life, rolling through the winning bids. The room was packed, everyone holding their breath. When the screen scrolled down to number 8,864, the winning number flashed bright red, $128,888. The entire convention center exploded. What the hell? Who's the absolute maniac that dropped 128 grand on that worthless black rock? Buying a scab-covered brick for over 100 grand? Did this dude lose his damn mind? Bro definitely added too many zeros by accident. He's gonna cry when he slices that open. Amidst all the dramatic shouting and mocking laughter, I calmly pushed through the crowd, walked straight to the cashier counter, slapped my debit card down, and signed the receipt like a total boss. The moment the staff handed that heavy, ugly black rock over to me, I could already feel a massive earthquake about to hit the entire jade industry. Yo, slice it open. Let the crowd see the disaster, someone yelled from the back. Sure thing. If you guys want to see it, let's cut it right now, I smirked, holding the rock tight. Just warning you though, don't come crying to me if you end up in the ER from shock. I carried the boulder straight to the biggest, high-tech industrial water cutter in the main plaza. I wasn't just going to cut it. I was going to reveal that glorious green flash right in front of the richest dealers in the entire country, because making a massive scene was my ultimate strategy for maximum profit. In seconds, a massive wall of spectators surrounded the cutting station, 10 layers deep. The old master cutter casually took a sip of water and asked, "All right, boss, how do you want me to slice this? Right down that massive middle crack, or just shave off a lid?" Normally, With a giant crack like that, you split it in half to see how deep the damage goes. But if he did that, he'd literally slice that flawless, solid block of Imperial Green right in two, cutting its value in half instantly. I shook my head, pulled out a stack of crisp $1,000 bills from my bag, and slammed them right onto the cutting machine. "No cutting, master," I instructed firmly. "Just grind away along that crack line on the surface. Remember, grind it down exactly 3 centimeters deep, not a single millimeter more. This grand is your tip. Take it super slow." The crowd lost their minds, laughing again. Oh Mao. Spent 128 grand on a trash rock, doesn't even dare to slice it open, and now he's just shaving the skin? You can grind that thing till tomorrow, and it'll still be a worthless piece of junk. The old cutter's eyes lit up at the fat cash tip. He didn't care if I was crazy or not. Money talks. He locked the rock into the heavy vise, switched on the high-precision diamond grinding wheel, and set it off. A deafening screeching noise filled the air as black dust flew everywhere. 10 minutes passed. The cutter was drenched in sweat, grinding carefully down to the 3-centimeter mark. The old master stopped grinding and called out, "All right, boss. It's down to about 3 centimeters. You want me to splash some water on it so we can see?" "What's there to see?" Someone in the crowd mocked. "It's gonna be a pocket of pitch black sludge." "Yeah, man, clear out. What's so interesting about a broken piece of trash rock?" I ignored the background noise, walked right up to the machine, grabbed the water hose next to it, and blasted a high-pressure jet straight into that freshly ground window. The very next second, under the piercing glare of the work light, a shade of green so impossibly rich, deep, and dripping wet flashed out like a tactical searchlight, blinding every single person in the crowd. The entire chaotic, noisy plaza went dead silent. It was like someone slammed the master pause button on reality. "Holy crap! ITS green! ITS-A, massive hit! My goodness! Look at that clarity! Look at that color! It's solid green all the way through. And there's 0 cracks. The surface crack didn't penetrate the flesh at all." A fat jewelry boss wearing a massive gold chain almost had his eyeballs pop straight out of his skull. He dove toward the machine like a madman, slapped his high-powered flashlight flat against the window, and boom! A breathtaking, otherworldly emerald glow flooded the entire stone. It was pure, royal, and completely flawless. The fat boss fell flat on his ass, his face pale as a sheet, his lips trembling uncontrollably. "Gold glass type, Imperial Green. This is the legendary Imperial Green." The moment those 2 words, Imperial Green, echoed through the air, it felt like a magnitude 10 earthquake hit the whole auction house. Hundreds of rich moguls and jewelry buyers who were looking at rocks across the plaza dropped whatever they were holding and sprinted over like absolute maniacs. In less than 2 minutes, the cutting station was packed so tight you couldn't even breathe, and over a dozen security guards had to rush in just to form a human barricade. "Young man, stop grinding. Don't touch it anymore," an executive shouted, waving his arms. "I'm the chief procurement director for Chow Sang Sang. I'll give you $4 million for this right now. Instant wire transfer." "4 million? Are you out of your mind?" Another buyer yelled over him. "This is glass-type Imperial Green. Looking at this light penetration, you can pull at least 5 full green luxury bangles out of it." "Young man, I'm from Lao Fengxiang. I'll give you 7 million. Nobody double-cross me on this." Watching these multi-billionaire jewelry moguls, who usually act all high and mighty, screaming and fighting like angry shoppers at a Black Friday sale made me feel like an absolute king. But I stood there completely unbothered, keeping a cool poker face. I knew this wasn't even close to the ceiling yet. Sure enough, when the frantic bidding hit a wall at $9 million, a deep, commanding voice boomed from the back of the crowd. "I'll bid $12 million. The crowd gasped. "It's Master Zheng from Hong Kong." Oh man, even he got pulled into this. Game over. Nobody can beat his wallet. "Young man," Master Zheng said calmly, stepping forward. "You spent 130 grand and flipped it into $12 million. That's nearly a 100-fold return. Even if there's a risk of the jade changing texture deeper inside, I'll take that gamble for you. Let's make a friend today. What do you say?" I took one last look at the stone with my HUD. Truth is, I knew if I sliced the whole thing open, the flesh inside was 100% flawless and worth well over 15 million. But greed gets you killed. Carrying a raw, multi-million-dollar holy grail jade around by myself was a giant target on my back. $12 million in cold, hard, guaranteed bank account cash was the safest, smartest move on the board. I flashed a confident smile and nodded. "Deal!" Half an hour later, inside the private VIP lounge, my phone chimed with a loud notification. A text popped up that made my heart do flips. "Your account has been credited with $12 million. Current available balance, $12,650,000. I stared at those digits and took a deep, shaky breath. From this exact second, I was officially out of the struggling class and flying high in the multi-millionaire club. Because this transaction was so insanely massive, the auction organizers even dispatched a bulletproof armored transport vehicle to escort me straight to the airport. Sitting in the first-class cabin on my flight back home, the flight attendant handed me a glass of top-shelf champagne with the sweetest smile, but my brain was already spinning at full speed, planning my next move. Now I've got the bag, but in this world, having just money isn't enough. You need real social status, influence, and a high-end reputation to protect that wealth. I couldn't keep running around like a low-level hustler, digging through dusty flea market stalls for cheap flips. That's low rent, and it makes you look like easy prey for shady gangs. My new plan? I'm going to open the most exclusive, hyper-luxurious antique investment firm in the city, catering strictly to the top 1% elite, and selling them my legendary finds at a 100x markup.